Welcome back, everyone, to the Newell, the home of University Esports. My name is Kanafit, joined by Rook, and we are, of course, live with our grand finals of our Clash Royale winter competition. Of course, we've got now our final 8 who are going to be competing to crown themselves champion here tonight.
Yeah, and we're going to start off with 8th seed, your boy Hammers from Sheffield Hallam University, who's studying digital media production.
We have number 7 seed, Mini Ange from the University of Leicester, studying chemistry.
Number 6 seed is Samstar from King's College London, who is studying biomedical science.
Number 5, Breels on Wheels from the University of Southampton, studying mathematics with statistics.
In 4th is Chocoholic from the University of Exeter, studying engineering.
Number 3 is Will from Bournemouth University, studying film.
Number 2 seed, SoProBro, is from University of Dundee, studying pharmacology.
And our number 1 seed tonight with the most qualifying points is Mushroom from the University of Bath, studying mathematics and statistics.
Yeah, and he absolutely knows how to come out on top. So last week, though, was not exactly his week. So let's talk about the last week's qualifiers. So big surprise in the upper bracket was Chocoholic managing to send Mushroom down to that lower bracket. And, well, Will getting 2-0'd by SoProBro, the opponent that SoProBro himself has had the most trouble with all tournament, and having been eliminated by Will multiple times. The last surprise was Mushroom being the one to eliminate Will from the lower bracket 2-0, making this one of Will's toughest weeks on the stream, not even taking a single victory in both streamed games.
Yeah, we've talked to Will a little bit between games. Definitely very disappointed with their performance coming into the finals. But from what they told us, they are very much ready for today. But let's talk about that finals itself, which ended up being so dominated by SoProBro. 2 games in a row against our number 1 seed, Mushroom. What was SoPro doing, Rook, that was working so well for them?
Well, it's actually interesting because we've got 2 very contrasting games here. So starting off in that game 1, it was Lumberjack Loon bowler list that we've often seen from Mushroom, really abusing those flying units, trying to get a lot of damage through, trying to find those big openings. Whereas SoProBro went with the tried and tested hog cycle, this time with no Quake, and that is quite notable here. Game 1 was super close. Mushroom tried to bring in the bowler and bring it to bear, but the constant pressure from the low-costed hog deck eventually whittled away a victory and actually won by damage in that overtime. So now, going into this game 2, Mushroom brought out what I believe is a Mona chip deck. It was interesting. There were 3 spells coming on through, and Mushroom's been one of the preeminent spell users in our tournament so far, so that's not too much of a surprise, but the Rocket in particular, we've seen from them before from time to time, and, well, while it did look good in this game, SoProBro had brought out the Lava Loon, and it was very early on in the match where Lava Loon dropped down, SoProBro pushed, took a tower, and then from there was no chance that Mushroom was ever really coming back. Got absolutely demolished, and when that first game went all the way to full time, this one finished well before anything happened, and that King Tower went down so darn quickly.
Yeah, so this puts SoProBro as our number 2 seed coming into this one, very, very slightly ahead of Will by 10 qualifying points, into very good position with Mushroom. A very small note about today, we have got the Mother Witch card just coming into Clash Royale quite recently. Just to confirm for you guys, that will not be legal for tonight's competition. But before we get into our first match of the day, we did get a chance to speak to our Season 1 champion, JJ Legend, about who they were thinking was going to perform well here. They said they would be amazed to see a non-Mushroom victory because of Mushroom's consistency. And, you know, even when he thinks the Mushroom's going to be out of the game, he still thinks they can fight back from a corner. So definitely favoring a Mushroom victory here. Saying as well that SoProBro and Will were known quantities from the start of the whole competition. And that JJ throwing a little bit of shade SoPro's way, saying that we expected more from SoPro. I don't know if they changed their mind a little bit about last week's performance. SoProBro having the best raw stats of any player in the competition certainly sets them up as a favorite. Will being out of the scene for a little while, I think JJ thinking that they had their performance reduced a little bit because of that. But because of Will representing the UK before in tournaments, expects to see them do well here now in the kind of pressure cooker of the finals. And of course, Chocoholic in 4th position, thinking that, you know, though I had a strong performance from Chocoholic last week, JJ's thinking that Chocolate might need to see what some of the top 3 knock each other out for Chocolate to be able to beat through there. But yeah, I think JJ is going to be watching very closely this evening. We'll be hopefully hearing from JJ as tonight develops to see if things go the way that they expect.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would be great to see Chocoholic, and I think it's very right to kind of analyze this and look at, to be fair, these top 3 look like such an unbeatable bunch. They've won all of the tournaments together, and well, now we're sitting here in this very finals. And well, if you're wondering how these finals work, we've got a quick reminder for you. And especially if you're new here, we can explain how that one quite works. So double elimination brackets the whole way through tonight, and unlike the other matches that we've had, other weeks we've had, it's best of 5 the whole way through. The finals are best of 5, but are also weighted, and it's short breaks after every game, so players can make some decisions on what they're going to be able to bring next, and also have that little bit of a break.
Yes, it's going to be quite a meat grinder to get through this evening, but, you know, as much as the strong seeding is going to help you coming into this one, you know, you're going to go in with certainly the best early matches that you can, so there's less chance of getting knocked down into the lower bracket. It's never anything but guaranteed. You do have that second chance, of course. You know, last time around, the big surprise was seeing Mushroom getting knocked down that early on, when nearly all the rest of the time they'd be able to make their way through the upper bracket and have that one game advantage in the finals.
Yeah, and we've seen how relevant that can be. It can allow you to close out a matchup so very quickly in 2 games like we saw last week, or it can really come up against some of these players. We've seen players pick up 2 games and not be able to close out that third one because they've just given away that time to adapt over to the winner who came in from that top bracket, often Mushroom, from their performances so far. And it's just allowed Mushroom to pick up those wins off of the back of that. Just that consistent play really rewarding them. So definitely keep an eye on who's going to be winning this top bracket, because it puts them in such a fantastic position.
Yes, I mean, you're right. It's very important. For any of you guys who may just be joining us for the finals, it's worth bearing in mind this is very different than what you might expect in terms of how the competition plays out. Each of our players blind picks their deck every single game. So exactly as Rook said, having that one game advantage is huge, because there are just some decks, when they're blind picked into each other, which is just going to favor one side or the other so dramatically.
And it's really interesting as well to see where the mind games come on through. And that's always been an interesting thing. These players, they've been playing each other for many a week now. They know the kind of decks people are expecting. And so to go back to some of these players, obviously we're talking about Will being an ex-professional player and returning to the scene and actually showing a lot of his former glory. A lot of what he's been particularly fantastic at are getting reads on what the opponent's decks are, knowing what they might bring out, trying to read the patterns into that. And that's why he's really been the bane of SoPro Bro, who only really, up until the recent weeks, was playing 2-3 decks at most. And Will constantly getting a read on him, having something ready and in the back pocket, and able to shut it down so easily.
Yes, and for any of you guys who are just joining us for the finals, you may not have seen SoPro Bro very much notorious for running the Hog Rider deck in its very many variants, and still managing to find success, even though, as we said, the decks are blind picks. So a player like Will has the opportunity to try and bring in different kind of technology, different kind of tech decks, different kind of choices. To talk about Will some more, we have been seeing them throughout the tournament, as you said, with so much experience, trying to expand out their pool, expand out their style of play. It didn't go so well for them last week, but we have to think tonight we shall see the strongest form of Will possible.
Yeah. I think Will really will bring it out of the bag here, and he is, as much as Mushroom has been consistent, and I absolutely believe he has, he's been fallible and has lost many times to Will. In fact, 2 times at the very least, because he's obviously Will's won out 2 of those tournaments. And I think Will on top form is one hell of a monster to try and beat here, and a lot of the competitors are looking to him, trying to analyze what he's doing and trying to either copy it or find something to beat it, or at least refine their strategies in order to prepare for what he's going to be bringing, because he's also going to be bringing a wide swathe of different options, and you're really going to need some solid play to be able to beat him out.
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite an ask here, particularly for our lower players who didn't make it into the top 4. They're going to have the toughest matches to start off here. Going up against our very top players in the first round means that their chances through the competition are much, much harder. as we've mentioned in previous weeks, once you go down to the lower bracket, your journey is, much, much longer than going through the upper bracket. You can, get the 3 straight wins and be into the finals from the upper bracket. You go down to the lower bracket, especially after the first game, and you've got a huge journey ahead of you to try and get back to the finals again.
Absolutely. We are unfortunately going to have to be changing games due to some technical issues, but we now have a matchup that I'm actually really excited to see here. Will versus Chocoholic. What a matchup to start things off with. This is the 3rd and 2nd seed playing each other already here.
Yeah, what a great start. Chocoholic, of course, surprising us last week with an astonishing 2-0 over #1 seed Mushroom. Will is a very tough opponent to come out with first, though.
Yeah, some good damage onto the tower, but we see these Royal recruits, they are so good at grouping up, and they are still fully tanky on that left-hand push. They're going to get taken out there and mitigated a lot of that damage by using that Knight and the Archers. That's a really great usage from Chocoholic to be able to stymie that aggression.
Yeah, we can see the power of that single tanky unit. The recruits, not a ton of damage in each individual one. There's a good charge in from the Hog Rider. Shades the So Pro Bro gets some good damage in for Chocoholic early.
But now it's the counter push. This is a big opportunity for Will here. This is a great way to distract, though these skeletons are so difficult for the Inferno Dragon to deal with, and, well, that Hunter's going to make short work.
Yeah, point blank range means the Hunter does an absolute ton of damage, and even while Chocoholic is running pretty cheap units, they do pack a lot of power under the right circumstances.
Yeah, so Chocoholic looking to cycle through that deck, put a lot of pressure onto what Will is bringing here. And, well, I think for the most part, he understands what the idea of this is. It's potentially playing towards this Fireball bait. There's a couple of decks which really build around this strategy, and those Royal recruits have been really popular as of late.
Yeah, I mean, they create so many bodies out on the board as the bomb tower will at least divert their attention across and keep them away. So a very efficient answer from Chocoholic as they come charging back in once again with the Hog. We have got the Inferno Dragon up in the sky. It's not being stopped. It takes the tower.
And that is just rookie error there from Chocoholic, not properly dealing with that Inferno Dragon. It got to hit the tower because the bomb tower was not in the right place. A good drag coming across there from the Fisherman means that as well, there's no trade back from the Hog or anything of the sort. Will knows what he's on about here, and the fact that he's found this tower really puts the pressure onto Chocoholic.
So Hog Rider trying to get through again, does have the Earthquake to back up as they attack, starts to build on the right-hand side, but Chocoholic knows they're in major, major trouble.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to trade back this left-hand tower, but there's so much pressure going onto that right-hand side as well towards that King Tower. He might be looking for a chance back at an entire victory, but look at that. The balloon comes on through. That Hunter just about stops it short.
Chocoholic needs to make the move now. They have to get this tower down, but hooked away. The Earthquake comes in, though, buying a little bit more damage. There's 20 seconds left to find 326 damage on Will's left-hand tower.
Yeah, the log's going to hit it, and that means I don't think it's quite within range of that Earthquake, but it's certainly close. Chocoholic looking to cycle through. This is their big opportunity to find something here. The Hog Rider goes down. Will have that answer. He gets the hook. It comes out just in time, and that might just put him over the line. Fantastic stuff from Will there, using the displacement to pick them up that first match.
Absolutely astonishing stuff, and just what we hoped from our winter finals. A nail-biter all the way through to the end. But as expected, Will from Bournemouth University, one of our top players in today's finals, managed to take down Chocoholic. I have to think, though, Rook, if that hadn't been for that one surprising take on the right-hand tower, that Chocoholic could well have taken that game.
It really could have been. That could have been a big opportunity for Chocoholic to strike on back. I don't know if it would have been taking the game, though, because I think Will was really setting up for that eventuality. That's why we're seeing a lot of pressure on that right-hand side. We saw a lot of balloons going towards it. And if Chocoholic invests that little bit more to the left-hand side, Will can easily find a way to break on through and pick up that W just purely off of taking that King Tower down. And that would have been a pretty dominant performance to see regardless. But if we'd seen a couple of those exchanges early on go his way, Chocoholic certainly could have used that momentum massively and easily put themselves in a very solid spot.
Yeah, I mean, and especially as well for Will, known for their air power, to come into our second game. Again, guys, today's tournament being brought to you by Amazon University Esports, Twitch student, and the Levi's 24/7 program. Please do show them some love. There's some details below our stream here today. The sponsors making today's event and this whole tournament possible. So do let them know it was worth their time.
Yeah, absolutely. get involved in those because, well, they're hella good deals and really great to bring us this tournament here. Now, I'd like to see this log bait coming out here from Chocoholic. It's always a fun deck. A lot of players bringing it out in the meta, but I don't know if it's going to be able to deal with some of the answers that Will has prepared here. Those Sparkies, absolutely shocking.
Yes, they are extremely pesky, especially when you're trying to set up a charge with a Hog Rider, or in this case, with a battering ram. They're kind of a little bit expensive and pretty squishy as well, but again, under the right circumstances, they can be devastating to so many strategies.
Yep, and there is the moving turret. They're able to move that on forward and actually get it within tower range. This is absolutely fantastic place for them to be, and they're going to find so much chunk there. Chocoholic finding a great opening and sets themselves ahead.
So flying machine up in the air. A lot of these air power units becoming fairly well associated with Will here as one of the few players who's really making major use of, how powerful those air units can be into decks that are not prepared for them.
Yeah. Bait off here. It's going to be log bait versus fireball bait, as we can see for Will. This has been a popular deck as of late in that ranked ladder, and it's not a surprise to see it here in these finals. Great usage of the Sparkies there to be able to distract that bandit, and there is a massive amount of units starting to make this push.
Yeah, Will's got a ton coming in from each side. Chocoholic has got the magical arch though, so that AoE means they'll be able to cut through the cannon cart on the other side, trying to block the way. Looks like this attack's going to falter. That's a lot of commitment made, but Will's already back up to full elixir.
Yeah, he's ready to make another push on in here, but look, that cannon cart is stopped in the other zone, so Chocoholic cannot push towards and use it to get some damage. We saw earlier on in this game.
All right, coming in is the battering ram this time round. There hasn't been a stop. And we got the cannon cart as well. That's a big hit on the left-hand side. And Chocoholic is the one to sneak through damage this time round.
Yeah, Chocoholic in continuing to put that pressure on. We need to see Will find that mass a chance. They're looking for it. The Royal Hogs come on through. That's a good bar barrel to delay a lot of this damage, but you can see those Sparkies moving on through. The distraction is absolutely there, but is this too many units?
It's a ton over from Will. They're pouring in. The right-hand towers under threat here. Again, it could be a disaster. We have got the ghost coming in, but just as we go to sudden death, Will does it again. Just needs to take a single crown and pushes themselves forward in the upper bracket.
Yeah, absolutely stuff from Will here. This is best of 5, so we still got one more game. You're getting a little bit too excited there, Peter. But Will with a really great mass set of units pushing on through. Chocoholic starting off really strong, looking like they could potentially have that with some great chip damage coming on through. But alas, it wasn't enough. And, well, eventually the death ball will come on through and find that W.
Yeah, so I may have gotten too excited with announcing Will's passage forward, but I mean, this is big. This is the first time that Chocoholic, against Will specifically, will get that third chance. Both of Will's victories so far have looked somewhat similar, but Chocoholic does have the chance to adapt here, and perhaps, just perhaps, overcome as well.
Yeah. Interesting line coming out here, bringing out the miner and those skeletal dragons, so this is Chocoholic bringing out something that we've seen a little bit before, and it might be, again, looking towards mass air units.
Be interesting to see this coming in from Chocoholic's side rather than Will's as the wall breakers are shut down. We have got a Lava Hound in the air, so Chocoholic, they mean business here. That bomb tower will not be able to interact with those air units directly.
Yeah, and we can see pushing on through that knight, distracting the Inferno Tower. A great volley, to be fair, to clear up those archers, and that might just be enough. We can see that Hunter got in position just in time to deny that. There's still a lot of damage going on through, and I don't think he's going to find all too much here, as it's still going to be that great push coming on through from Chocoholic, and this could be the tower just going down here. The Inferno Dragon does just chew through these towers, and the whole season long, we haven't actually seen Inferno Dragons taking towers, and finally here in the finals, we are going to see them pop off an absolute chew through of those things, because when they get their chance to hit, they hit hard.
So this is what Chocoholic from the University of Exeter can do with a game number 3. They adapted better in Game 2 than Game 1. Now in Game 3, they have a major advantage. They are so far ahead on the right-hand side. It's going to take a major, major push from Will to equalize.
And do keep in mind, this is Chocoholic's first time in a best of 5. So I'm really excited to see how this is going to play out. And so far, they've really been outplaying Will, and Will only has that minute left to try and make it.
So Lava Hound up in the air was a big commitment of Elixir, but Will was unable to make a major punish through. Barely any damage at all, as up in the air come the dragons, and a balloon as well. A leaf very firmly taken from Will's book here with all this air power, but it's working. The wall breakers do impact on the left-hand side, but it's looking like the major damage is going vastly in the favor of the Excellent student.
Yeah, this is absolutely massive here for Chocoholic. They are going to be taking their second tower, and with 25 seconds left on the clock, as much as you are going to find one, Will, I don't think there's much of an opportunity here, especially because those wall breakers are going to get destroyed by those barbarians. And these barbarians are something that Will has been bringing out all season long to try and combat some of these units, and finally someone else is using them, and it's been a real pain for him.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like they have the right units to deal with it. We do have the Earthquake going through. If they can finish off, but no, 689 health is too much. So Chocoholic gets the victory against Will here in the finals and moves a step closer to potentially giving us our first upset in our first game.
Chocoholic has not given up without a fight, and, well, I'm really glad to see that here. Will trying to play a little bit more aggressive, bringing out those wall breakers. He mentioned before, I believe, to you that he really feels like if you can get the right opportunity and the right timing for these wall breakers, they're so strong. The issue is he really didn't find any of those. So Will, unfortunately, falling prey of his own advice and getting chunked out by a lot of what Chocoholic was bringing in.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the wall breakers as well. Yeah, they're always just a threat that's lurking in the back of your mind. If you make the major commit, that you're going to get punished. I did think that maybe once we saw that Lava Hound come out, that's so much Elixir being pumped in at a single time. You've got so little to deal with any kind of counter-aggression. That's the kind of ideal environment for the wall breakers to thrive.
Yeah, and he was trying to play more aggressive as well, had that mine already, wanted to go full face, but unfortunately, Chocoholic knowing you're trying to go face, I'll drop down a Lava Hound, I'll drop down a balloon, and I'll just chew through those towers like that. And the Inferno Hound as well, just when not countered, is so strong.
Yeah, ridiculously strong. Just given the opportunity, you need those interrupts there to stop the damage from going through. It builds up so damn quickly, as it looks to be that Will is building again for a more mass ground unit trying to approach.
Yeah, but has that balloon in the air as well to try and deal with the situation. We can see that it doesn't come through. No, it doesn't distract the balloon, even though that fireball comes on through to try and knock it away. Chocoholic not able to stop it from finding a massive amount of damage early.
We've said this before, you need to have some amount of anti-air in Will's matchup because they so often rely on those air units. As we can see here from Chocoholic with one card left to reveal, so far they've got nothing that directly counters them.
Yeah, we do see push coming on the right. Royal Hogs stopped by those Royal Recruits, trying to finish them off where they can, but Royal Recruits not going to be able to deal with these Skeletal Dragons, so they're going to really struggle to do a lot of work. King Tower barely not activated there by Will as he invests the Fisherman. Gets nothing out.
It's at least some damage back for Chocoholic, but they are looking like they could be in trouble here, taking a ton of damage on both towers. And of course, if they lose here, they're going straight to the lower bracket. We have at least got some reply to the balloon on the right-hand side, but it's not a strong reply.
Yeah, and that bomb, oh yes, it hits on the Musketeer. That's not the worst trade in the world as a result of that, but these Royal Hogs could be a problem. You see the snowball coming through, great fireball to deny those archers, but the fact that this Barbarian is hitting that Musketeer means they might just be able to survive. Yes, 64 health for that tower for Will, but he knows if there's anything committed by Chocoholic here, that could easily be a kill.
Skeleton Dragons come out in the air to try and deal with these massed ground units that Will is throwing out, trying to get back in. The balloon up in the air once again. This is so dangerous for Chocoholic because they don't have the direct answer. The Barbarian Hut is not dropped in the way, so the balloon's going to get through, and it's going to take the tower.
Yeah, brilliant stuff here. There is going to be a trade back tower, I believe, so we won't just see the game end here. But if you're looking at Will right now, you're looking at what is that last card, what can be invested. That right tower is so low as well. He can just invest a little bit and close it out here. The Royal Hogs find a lot of damage onto this left tower, but this push is still coming through, and Will is just looking to close it out here.
Surely there's got to be something from Chocoholic, but no. On the very beginning of overtime, Chocoholic's lack of anti-air really comes back to bite them. Will goes back to the well. The air power is sufficient.
Well, as we saw Chocoholic look down, look towards those ground units, bring out those skeletal dragons to really deal with that problem, Will shifts it back up, brings the balloon just in that one slot to deal with it, and pushes on forward, takes those towers, and sets themselves ahead, and just about pulls this win over Chocoholic here. A little bit sad to see Chocoholic going to the losers bracket early, but that's how stacked the competition is here.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, between Will and SoProBro being number 2 and number 3 seeds, separated by 10 qualifying points, which is almost nothing. So for Chocoholic, I think to get a game victory here is a pretty good look for them. And the fact as well that they went, their weakest game was the first, their second strongest game was the second, and their strongest game, worked their way through the competition. I think it speaks well of their chances to keep improving and use this double elimination to keep on playing.
Absolutely. So I'm really excited to see how Chocoholic fares in their second best of 5 of the night. We won't actually get to see that one, but I think getting that chance to improve, and this player has continued to show up week after week, I would not be surprised to see them actually go relatively deep into this bracket. Now, we do have our next matchup, and that is going to be Mushroom versus Samstars.
Yeah, so guys, stick around. We're going to have an absolute ton of Clash Royale for you this evening. Again, every single match will be a best of 5, so we will have ourselves some very definitive winners by the time we're done. But we will be taking a short break while we do get our players in place for our second game of the night. Let's see what Samstar and Mushroom have got for us coming up in just a few short minutes' time. Welcome back, one and all, to the Newell's Winter Clash Royale competition. We are now heading into our second round as Samstar is going up against number 1 seed Mushroom from the University of Bath. But just take a moment to acknowledge the previous game, which was so incredibly tight there. We saw Will pulling out the air power once more to extremely strong effect.
Yeah, well, just about managing to close it out there. And I believe we kind of got it from JJ Legend himself. Imagine if that balloon had been pulled away by those buildings placed down. Slight misplacements make a massive impact on this game. And as well, the changes that we saw come out from Chocoholic were fantastic, but unfortunately not enough, as we are going to be getting onto this game. And, well, Samstar versus Mushroom, this will be a difficult start for Samstars here, but he still has a lot of time to go. And, well, we've been seeing some upsets in Chocoholic even finding that first game and almost taking that second. Why wouldn't this happen?
Yeah, but you see, the Mushroom... I mean, you know, far from me to read too much into the emote usage there, but certainly talking to them before this all started, Mushroom feeling pretty confident, the chosen winner of today's finals by our Season 1 champion, JJ Legend, who, of course, will be getting as much information from throughout tonight as we can. Because we know you guys had some great experiences getting to know JJ over the first season, as they became our first champion. As Samstar looks to be taking a few leaps from the book again. The air power, the flying machine, the musketeer of the skies, working pretty well.
Absolutely, and this is again that fireball bait that I was talking about before, relatively popular in terms of that regular ladder, and we've been seeing a lot of players try to bring it out recently. Mushroom and this Mega Minion is a match made in heaven as they continue to get so much value out of it.
Yeah, we've been praising the Mega Minion as being a great answer to a ton of different stuff. The graveyard comes out. This is Mushroom's bread and butter. They will do this if nothing else presents itself, and I think Samstar, as an unknown quantity, is one for it, as the skeletons, they are going to town on the left-hand tower.
They don't quite take it down, but with a poison in the bank for Mushroom, I think he doesn't even mind that doesn't quite go the way he wanted to. He is in such a great spot right now, and only really needs to play defensive.
You can see there, the flying machine, incredibly effective on Samstar's side of the river. A lot less so once it's taking the aggro. Great damage as the two sets of barbarians will meet each other just on Samstar's side of the river. The King's College London student in blue for this game. Going to have to be very, very careful to not take any further damage, especially considering how healthy Mushroom is on that right-hand tower.
Yeah, and when it gets triple duty, there comes the poison. Fantastic usage there. You see the Royal Hogs coming on through. They're going to be able to get rid of this position and rid of that Barbarian Hut. But there's another one to replace it almost straight away. Mushroom just piling this pressure on. See how many Barbarians are pushing that right-hand side. And Mushroom is going to continue to try and have a huge amount of pressure right now.
The flying machine is able to provide a lot of pressure, but it's getting taken out by the poison. We have the Mega Minion coming as the Sparkies try and do their work, but there's no time left here for Samstar. We, of course, are going to be in best of 5 as we will be all evening, so Samstar has got more chances, but as you can see, they had the damage with the Hogs. It just took too long to happen.
Yeah, really well played by Mushroom there, pulling them around the map, getting that early kill onto the left-hand Princess Tower, and from there, Samstars was playing from behind, and it's so difficult to come back against any opponent, let alone the consistent top point scorer of our tournament so far.
Yeah, and as I said, Mushroom, consistency is their watchword. I mean, they are way, way ahead of anybody else when it comes to qualifying points. We talked about how SoPro and Will were almost tied, 10 points separating the two. Mushroom is vastly, vastly far ahead. I think that consistency here is going to serve them well. Even if their deck choices, as we saw there, decks we've seen them play again and again, they're decks that work extremely well.
Mushroom has a wide suite of decks, and they all seem very good. They're all very well tuned, and he's happy to make a lot of changes to them, knows how to adapt here. So very surprised to see them going down. Would be very surprised to see them losing early in this best of 5 matchups here in lead up to those grand finals.
The Samstar bring out the Skeleton Giant would be very good against a cloud of barbarians like we saw last time round. The Mushroom, early on at least, showing us some serious air power as well. Got the Mega Minion back in for the single target damage as the Earthquake will come through to take a chunk out of the hut and also get a little bit of damage on the right-hand tower.
That Skeleton Giant was really impressive, found a lot of damage there, and took out a whole baby dragon just with that bomb. It looks like sometimes that isn't very effective, and then there are times when that bomb has a massive amount of damage, and you think, wow, That's just so scary. Samstar bringing out the Royal Giant and putting a lot behind it to try and protect. They bring forth the Hunter and Fisherman duel.
Yeah, that combo together so incredibly powerful. We haven't seen a ton of it, you're right. As the Royal Giant tries to make its way across, and it's going to get those hits in. It hits like an absolute truck when it does. For Samstar, especially later on, once they can start really supporting that Royal Giant, it's going to be very, very scary.
Yeah, we saw how much it was cleaning up all of those individual units with that backup of the Fisherman and the Hunter. It's always a scary combo, and don't be surprised to see it wreak havoc later into this match, because Samstar already has that advantage. Speaking of advantages, they might lose that in just this second as the Skeleton Graveyard comes out.
Yeah, the Graveyard just did a ton of work in the previous games, and it's going to do it again for Samstar. They didn't have the answer. I really wish that Skeleton Giant had been on the far side rather than the near side of the tower, because that's almost equalized everything Samstar has done so far with just a single Graveyard attack.
Yeah, Earthquake comes on through, the heal, Spirit as well. They're really looking to try and play around this. The Electro Wizard trying to deny a lot of this. A hook comes on through and, well, takes one of the Barbarians. This is not the best thing to hook here. The push is going to come on through. The Graveyard is down, and these little skeletons are the ones that are going to have the big impact this game. It's not going to be that Skeleton Giant so much, and Mushroom ahead with only 20 seconds left. Samstars might be just seeding game 2 as well.
We've got one last push coming in, very little time left as the Earthquake comes through. The Royal Giant will be held at bay by the Barbarian Hut for a little while, but Sparkies are buying a little bit of time, just not enough. The tide of Barbarians sweeps across them. The Barbarian Barrel as well just adds further to that as the final insult from a University of Bath student, dropping down the Graveyard that destroyed Samstar in this game 2 and 1.
Yeah, Mushroom is a brilliant, I would argue, our best Graveyard player in this tournament. I don't think that's too much of an argument, honestly. Really knows how to use it, looks for those openings, hides it for long enough as well, and is happy to slot it into a couple of different decks in order to play around those mind games. And again, in these best of fives, that brings so much value. Will Samstars be able to stabilize here?
I really like what we were seeing from Samstar there. It felt like the only blind spot they had was making sure they had the Elixir left back to deal with that Graveyard. I think that cost them so badly, and that's one of the things you can see from the from our top players, in particular players like Mushroom, is they will rarely be caught with with an unexpected card. Of course, Night Witch, that is a surprise.
We've seen it a couple of times, mainly from I think Mushroom and Chocoholic. It's had some success, but very varying degrees, and it's never been the marquee card of any deck. It's going to be able to push on in here, but easily dies to this Night Dragon combo.
Yeah, as we said, the air power is pretty darn strong right now, so if you can get a Night Witch hanging around making bats for a while, it's pretty good, as the Tornado from Mushroom allows for the splash of the Baby Dragon to clear the way for another push. We have got the Mega Knight coming in. This is a card we've been liking quite a lot.
Yeah, it's had fantastic opportunities so far in this tournament, but at the same time, it can sometimes get gummed up. It'll be interesting to see how players play around it, and whether Samstars is just bringing out for this one-shot attempt. Brings a Graveyard of their own, and really looking to deny things here. Good Snowball means it'll be even harder to clean up some of those skeletons.
Yeah, nice use of the attack speed slow to buy that little bit of extra time, but the poison unfortunately dealt with the Graveyard just that little bit too well, and for one elixir cheaper as well. Let's see if Samstar has learned how to deal with the Graveyard this time round. Yes, they've got a poison of their own.
Yeah, that poison comes on down. They are going to be able to counteract that in Samstar, breathing a sigh of relief. Expecting Mushroom to bring that Graveyard one extra time. I think that's a pretty safe bet considering how many times you just brought it in a row.
And this is what we're really liking, these game 3s, because of these best of 5s, each of the players here getting that little bit greater of an opportunity to get a read on each other's style, to make those adaptations that they need to make. For Samstar, their strongest performance so far.
Yeah, Samstar with a really impressive showing in being able to trade back on this, but they're down HP. They've really got to look for an opportunity here. They do not have this Barbarian Hut that pumps out so much value. They're trying to use something like the Night Witch, but I don't think it's going to be enough here. Their difference in composition might be all the difference it takes.
Graveyard coming out. This might be too much for Mushroom to deal with. They've got the poison straight away, but they've also got to deal with the attack to the front. Tornado draws away the Mega Knight. There's a little bit of damage breaking through as the Hut drops, but counter-attack from Mushroom is starting to build, and they've got a graveyard of their own.
Yeah, poison of their own. Samstar all too happy to trade out that one, but you can see the health very much in favor of Mushroom, and they are continuing to push on in the night. Going to tank up a lot of that damage and find some damage onto that Princess Tower as well. Eventually it'll all be cleared. What cost?
Yeah, these two prize fighters swinging at each other. This is a pretty solid contest so far. The Mega Knight, like you said, being gummed up by the number of small units. We've got the Graveyard again, but this time the Baby Dragon instead of the Poison is the one that's going to answer. Nice Snowball a second time to buy a little bit more space for those dragons, but there's too many units there for them to get any damage through.
Yeah, and they have a graveyard of their own, the poison to counteract, but you can see the play coming on through and so many units starting to push on in here. You've really got to clear it quickly if you're Samstar. Because there's no poison, it's going to be so difficult. The GG coming out from Samstar, he knows that his days are numbered. The poison, even going onto the King Tower, Mushroom knew that he didn't need to invest it. As Mushroom takes a clean 3-0, hasn't dropped a game so far today.
Yeah, very, very nice stuff from them. Still though, Samstar, one of the strongest performances we've seen from them so far. So we've still got a chance we might get to see them again if they do fight their way back through the lower bracket. They'll have to stay alive in a few games off stream to do so, however.
Absolutely, and well, we know that lower bracket can be an ever so terrifying place with all these other players, all obviously in the top 8, populating it. If they lose out, they're going down there. Will himself already put Chocoholic there, and well, they are my dark horse for this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be keeping a very close eye on how things proceed. But guys, we do need to take a short break before we go to our next one. And just to let you guys know again, for our sponsors helping today's tournament happen, Levi's 24/7 program, a membership program to get access to new products, promotions, and events. Join today to start enjoying your 24/7 benefits and earn points with every purchase. You can find out more about that in the link below the stream. But for now, stick with us. We've got tons more Clash Royale coming for you as our finals proceeds. We'll see if Mushroom can manage to punch their way through. And soon we'll have ourselves our first finalist. See you guys in a few short minutes' time. Welcome back, everyone, and we are returning with surprising news. Miniant from the University of Leicester has managed to pull Will from Bournemouth University, one of the tournament favourites, to a 2-2 situation, which means they're going next into the fifth and final game between them. Rook, this is unprecedented and the strongest showing I think we've ever seen from one of our lower brackets players.
Yeah, this is really exciting to see here. Miniant absolutely bringing it out here, and with some interesting picks in terms of cards as well. This is not a lineup I expected to see. The wall breakers coming on through with that miner. They're going to just, one lands and continues to get that damage on through.
That was amazing stuff. Yeah, Miniant representing the University of Leicester here. Bring out the Dark Goblin, which I don't think we've seen for a very long time. Does a ton of damage, but is very, very vulnerable to being killed, as we saw there from the Princess Tower. Still, though, very good poke. And, of course, the bats up in the air, able to deal a lot of damage for almost no elixir at all.
Gonna see a hook come on through. The Mega Knight on field as well. Miniant is under a bit of pressure now as those cheap units are just gumming it up. However, maybe the Mega Knight wasn't necessarily the best choice here. The bats coming on through, finding a lot of damage, and the poison does tick on through, but Will under some pressure now as he hasn't been able to win out in a lot of these trades.
This is amazing to see these best of fives going to game 5 this early on in the competition. The winner of this match here goes on to face Mushroom for that first finals spot, but it may not be Will. Last tournament, they were knocked out in surprising fashion from the upper bracket. We could be seeing it happen again.
It is. Cage comes on through as he is setting up for some of those potions and maybe trying to deny some of that aggression from Miniant here. It's been an interesting set of picks here so far in terms of cards from both sides, as Will brings out something we hasn't seen from before, and Miniant brings out cards that we just haven't seen from anyone.
No, we definitely haven't seen Will making a lot of use of the Mega Knight. It is a big investment, and against certain decks, it doesn't work so very well. From Miniant, we're seeing things which we saw from Mushroom before, from So Pro Bro, able to lock down their own side of the river and almost keep any advancement from happening at all.
And it was a graveyard that was actually in the back here with that poison. That's so much damage coming down. The log mitigates a lot of it here, but that's still so much coming through. This might be another push coming through as well from Will here as they're looking to back up that Fisherman potentially.
You see how well the bats are working against these ground units of Will's. As soon as they get the opportunity, they can go in and just absolutely slam. Everything is low cost from Miniant as another poison comes through. This will take the Dark Goblin with its low health pool as the small units try and deny the push again.
Yeah, there's so much damage coming on through right now onto those units. They're so low. They're easily cleared up right now, but the Hunter is easily going to rid themselves of those bats. The Miner tries to sneak in towards the back as that Hunter is going to meet a frosty reception.
I won't be able to get through the Electro Wizard. It's the Miner of Miniant, so the damage keeps pouring in. Miniant has got no big hitters in the deck at all. In fact, nothing that's worth more than 2 elixir. So they're really struggling to get any further damage through.
They've got a couple of 3 elixirs, and those are some of those damage-dealing powerhouses, and the Miner, which slips into that back line. They're looking to do it with quantity, not quality here, as the Cage finds very little at all. The Mega Knight, again, leaps on forwards and is looking for a big opportunity here. The Miner cannot find their opportunity as it is completely thwarted by that Fisherman.
Hunter's there as well as the poison ticks away. Miniant at such a major disadvantage right now. They have to make up so much ground against Will here. They are managing to pull out a lot, but it's another graveyard coming through. We haven't got the poison to be able to deny this straight away. We have got the Dark Goblin, but the poison from Will is the one doing the damage. The skeletons are getting through. Miniant put up one hell of a show to make it to this point, but they may have nothing left.
Yeah, they've got a push coming on through. That Dark Goblin trying to find those opportunities, but we're just waiting on that poison to come on through. We might not even make it there. Brilliant stuff by Will to be able to pick up this W, and a really impressive performance from Miniant, who could potentially be the dark horse here. Not a player we expected to see taking Will to the very precipice here, but absolutely showing up in this winner's bracket.
Yeah, it's one thing to take us one surprise game off of one of our top seeds. It's another thing entirely to be able to take a second game as well, which means that Miniant isn't just bringing out unusual units, but they're piloting them with enough skill that Will's getting thrown off their game. And I think that's a fairly heavy warning to Will as they advance to face against Mushroom, that even if they're playing against the players who aren't necessarily our top seeds, they still have to take them very seriously.
They absolutely do, and Miniant being a great proponent of that. In fact, doing better against Will than we saw from Chocoholic here, which, well, obviously bodes the question, was it the matchups? Mushroom, obviously, sorry, not Mushroom. We did see Will get caught out massively there with some interesting deck types and some very spicy approaches to the question of how do I beat out these players. It's really interesting to see players, even in these finals, trying to adapt.
Yeah, and I'd love to see some more of that coming through as well. Yeah, we've seen a lot of cards that are very reliable, very useful most of the time. The graveyards, the poisons, the dragons up in the air can deal with most things, but if you can find the right time and place to bring in, then I think something like a Dark Goblin, something like these cheap decks, I think can work extremely well.
Indeed, it's pretty interesting to see as well, like people taking the idea of that 2.6 hog cycle or 2.4 hog cycle and really pushing it to the extreme. I didn't think it was necessarily going to work, and I mean, it didn't quite work in the end there, but that Dark Goblin, I really feel like it has legs. If you can put something in front of it, it can output so much damage.
And JJ Legend, Season 1 champion, did have some praise for Miniant, specifically saying that the deck which Miniant was playing there was actually a very hard deck to pilot through successfully, and he thought they did a really good job of it. So I think we might be seeing Miniant once we do end up heading down to the lower bracket. But for now, it's Mushroom versus Will. The first place in our grand finals. The first place to grab the championship on the line in this best of 5.
It will be. Cage comes on through from Mushroom. Prepping for those later pushes, a nice way to try and cycle through some of your deck. Look for those good answers to what's being thrown out early as well. Invest some very heavy hitters here. That Ice Wizard always can lead to a lot here, but grouping up, well, means that they're striking back with relatively good trades here.
We do see Will bringing out the Battle Healer as the Royal Giant immediately is dropped onto the left-hand flank. We'll be able to deal well with the Barbarian Hut. A lot of damage being put through there, but with no backup, it's going to struggle to get too much more than that done.
Yeah, trades 6 elixir for 7 as well, so now definitely has the advantage in terms of numerical. Push comes on through from those barbarians, but that hunter easily clears that one up.
We do know that the Royal Giant and Giants in general are going to have trouble against the barbarians because of their high single target damage along with their numbers. As Mushroom has been committing in for these goblin cages pretty frequently here, looking to set up a solid defense.
Absolutely. You see the Ice Wizard coming on through, and again, not managing to find all too much. Will struggling to really make all too much of an impact here, I feel, and these Royal Giants are eventually going to really overcome him.
But there's a fireball coming through, but the left-hand tower remains intact. So we do get a shot off for the Royal Giant before it falls. So for Will, they're biding their time for the time being. Barely getting any damage through of their own, but that's true for both players so far.
Absolutely. Setting up for this later game. Will still hasn't shown 3 of their cards right now. Has a lot in that back pocket. I think it's going to have to be something special here, because otherwise these Giants in the late game, as I said before, could be a real problem.
And the big units attract a big amount of attention. Barbarian Hut through again. Again, the Royal Giant will be there to trade across. The Fireball trying to stop the build-up of units. So the Royal Giant does get another shot from that cannon. And now it's going to be the counter-offensive building up from Will.
There's a push coming through here again from Will. He's setting up for it. Has that Lumberjack in tow that could be all-important. Double Baby Dragon and a Royal Knight. Even if that Barbarian goes down, the Battle Healer is delaying quite a lot. That's a good tornado, but we see fireballs, spells are plenty coming out here. A lot of damage going on to this right-hand Princess Tower as Mushroom again tries to make their mark.
We've seen plenty of Lumberjacks with balloons, but that's the first time I believe we've seen the Lumberjack together with the Royal Giant. It got a good amount of damage through as we head into overtime. this is the part of the game where Will can build up that massive attack ball.
Going to be a big chance here to try and lead for something up with this Barbarian Hut, but it's sometimes been a bit of a problem to try and get the tempo out of that. I really don't know why this battle hero is here. Hopefully we'll see that soon, because these last two cards, one gets shown, it's Graveyard and Poison. Will is looking for the chance here.
This is what Will's been waiting for this whole time, but they're not managing to get across the bridge. And they can't link up their two forces together, which means the Mushroom will be able to pick them apart while building an offensive push of their own.
Divided and conquered there. Will completely thwarted in that attempt at a push. Battle Healer comes on through. Going to be able to be grouped up here as the damage continues to land. They might be able to stop this still. 55 seconds on the clock, and the push is really starting to heat up now from Will.
And the Battle Healer finally getting the chance to apply her heal to a big group of units, but in overtime now, we're getting so much more elixir coming through. There's going to be a ton of units. The Battle Healer is healing, but she can't stay up, I think, under this much firepower.
Absolutely, we're going to see a lot of damage come on through to those clumped up groups, but it doesn't seem like it'll be enough here with this Rage Potion. They could easily work on through this. I don't think anyone's going to be able to stop this Royal Giant. It is just firing its load here and finishes things off with that Fireball. Mushroom, known for those spells, great with the Lumberjack. Uses Royal Giant to really leverage and find that win here against Will in this upper bracket finals.
Yeah, and for any of you guys who are unaware, Mushroom and Will, great friends, great rivals in the competition, kind of seeing themselves as, you know, the top two who want to get through to the actual finals of our finals here today. Certainly Mushroom looking extremely good. And I mean, when we came into this competition initially, Mushroom was literally the student of Will in terms of their Clash Royale development. And the amount we've seen Mushroom grow week by week has been absolutely astonishing. It seems now that they may be the one trying to teach Will some lessons.
Yeah, this is a big chance for them to really... The student has become the master. We've actually seen that a couple of times. Mushroom has come out on top many a time, in fact. It takes a little bit of damage early there. Surprised to see them taking that, but they were saving up for this push on the left-hand side, but instantly a response coming through, and, well, that Barbarian Hut is going to soak up most of that damage.
As JJ said, air power is pretty darn good right now. And it's a pretty, I think it's a decent trade across. You get most of the Barbarian Hut, as long as you can deal with the Barbarians coming afterwards, which the Baby Dragon can do extremely well. The Lumberjack will try and sneak through. Won't do too much to the Battle Healer. Will might have a chance to build up a push.
Yeah, if they can pop something down around that Battle Healer, you really could see something interesting. I'm surprised to see this Battle Healer actually coming through. It's not exactly what I expected here. The Inferno Dragon's going to make short work of that one, and, well, hopefully we actually see a response to this Inferno Dragon this time, as it's backed up by a balloon and that Barb Barrel. They're really looking to take some of this damage and the edge off of this push.
Tornado being used to draw them back, but there's the freeze. This has been Mushroom's go-to spell. A window of opportunity, and they've gone straight in for the throat.
Yeah, and that bomb will halve health the Ice Wizard as well. They're going to be able to slow it somewhat. You can see that Lumberjack is pushing on in, and the Inferno Dragon continues to layer up damage. It's going to easily chew through this Baby Dragon, especially while raged on up, but doesn't quite finish it off. Has such a damage advantage on this right-hand tower hub.
I'm loving what we're seeing from our University of Bath student Mushroom here. They're looking extremely confident. You're talking to Will before this one. They are all kinds of prepared for today's final. This should be their strongest performance from what we've seen from them so far. But Mushroom has been winning out every one of these fights as the bowler comes through. The unit that's been turning up more recently and dealing so well with these clouds of units.
Yeah, brilliant so far from Mushroom in this tournament, and I've been impressed by their adaptability, by their willingness to run some of these off-meta picks. It continues to clear up some of these units and will put that pressure on. The Ice Wizard, however, will stop it from being quite the powerhouse when that tornado comes through, as it doesn't get as many throws out.
Echoes of the Magical Archer there with the tornado use, trying to bring all the units together to get rolled over at once, and even ideally into a line where the bowler can actually even hit the Princess Tower at the same time.
Yeah, that would have been key there. but it's going to be this Baby Dragon who clears up a lot of it. Another bowler coming on through, and that Lumberjack push on the left, and Will kind of has to respond to that, has to be able to stop that push from coming on through, because otherwise, if that Rage gets on in and Mushroom drops something to go alongside it, it could just be game over. However, that was a bait of a push, and this Inferno Dragon is moving in on the left-hand side as the rest of that push comes in on the right. We're going to be able to mitigate a lot of that damage with a Barbarian there, but not for all too long.
So no Elixir Golem so far from Will, but the bowler is doing incredible stuff from Mushroom's side of the river, just dealing with absolutely everything that's coming out. The Battle Healer, once again, the balloon up in the air. There's so many threats, air and ground from Mushroom. The Tornado buys a little bit of time, but I think Will's time may be getting cut short here.
Yeah, that freeze, and it's through. Fantastic play there by Mushroom. The Spell King here in these finals, and it has been so impressive. Every single match we've seen them in, they might just be 3-0ing Will here and sending them right down to that loser's bracket.
Yeah, it's pretty tough, as we said. It's a much, much longer journey once you take your first loss. Mushroom here looking to call back to so many of our previous tournaments where they were perennially a finalist or champion themselves. You can see they're feeling pretty confident right now. Will, quite a journey ahead of them, needs to win 3 in a row to make it to the finals right here and now.
Yeah, no delay. We're getting right on through this. These players, they're so anticipative of this. Even with the score like this, Will feels determined, wants to pick up this win, and knows that they can. I want to see a little bit more of a change-up from them. The comp that they've run in the past 2 games just didn't feel good enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've questioned in the past, like, what was the answer to some of these comps that were being played, and it feels like Mushroom had perfect answers to nearly everything that Will was bringing out here. So I think you're right. The impetus is on Will to show this adaptability, this experience. From what I understand, Will has returned back now to the professional stage. So this is their kind of first proving ground here. They need to do well as the Ram Rider comes in. I think might be able to get the hit off just before it gets hooked away.
Yeah, it does get one out, but is easily cleaned up by that duo that is always so problematic. And, well, Will looking to now put the pressure back on. The bomb tower comes out from Mushroom as they are prepared for many eventualities.
See, the Princess Tower's clearing the way there as both these players give each other a lot of respect. The Barbarian does sneak through, though, and again, it's Mushroom from the University of Bath with the advantage, looking very good right now. No damage at all being taken early on.
It is hit. Will pushing on through. Looking for this opportunity with that Mega Knight, but great read here from Mushroom. The P.E.K.K.A. coming on through will easily make short work if it can get some of those attacks through with the Electro Wizard, making it a little bit problematic to do so, but that P.E.K.K.A. will eventually get to land its attacks, and the Bandit even backing it up here, but we can see that Hunter coming on through. That's not going to be an alive P.E.K.K.A. for very long.
We've seen there, the Electro Wizard is such a pain when you're running units with a long wind-up attack animation. So there, the P.E.K.K.A. barely able to get a shot off because it was being stun-locked again and again. As the Goblin Cage coming down for Will block the way once more, stop any further damage from getting through. But if Mushroom can keep up this level of aggressive defense, Will's not going to get any damage back at all.
Yeah, it's constantly Will waiting to try and make those plays back and forward and actually find some damage.
So the poison stops this from being a clean sheet game for Mushroom, but not by a long way, as the defensive play of the bomb tower means that Will knows they've got a lot of work to do if they want to get anything more than minimal damage through.
Yeah, they've revealed one of those cards. They might be pretending that this is a graveyard, or it might be a graveyard. I don't know what Will is thinking here. It's always hard to read into these players' decks, but so far, he still has a lot of time to work with, because Mushroom hasn't yet started to put that pressure onto the right-hand tower in its entirety. Hunters coming through on both sides. The Bandit makes short work, just about pulled away. The Ram Rider doesn't quite manage to finish things off, but this left-hand side push isn't looking for good for Will either.
No, Will tried to back up their Mega Knight with Electro Wizard, but this time Mushroom was ready with a Barbarian Barrel of their own to try and counteract that perma-stun. So P.E.K.K.A. takes out the Mega Knight, doesn't get any damage through, but importantly for Mushroom, keeps any kind of big offensive push from building up from Will and keeps the health advantage in place.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity to make that push on through here, as they have managed to take down this right-hand side with relative ease. The graveyard comes on through. Will was keeping it in the back pocket, and this is their big chance.
Mushroom has to make the defense here right now. They can't drop below 1,300, or this overtime could turn against them. We have got the charge coming in, but it's going to be a very slight hold on there. No! Mushroom falls behind Will. Now they have to get back some damage of their own.
They really do. They're looking for this push on through here. If this P.E.K.K.A gets so much as a scratch on this tower, it would be so important. There's a lot of time left, but it won't find that damage yet.
Now, overtime is going to run out of time, though. We saw how difficult this push with the graveyard was to defend against before. As the poison is ticking away, Mushroom could be in major trouble here. 30 seconds left to go. They are behind on health. They need to get a push through, or this will end up going into another game.
Bandit making the attack, but the cage is just too much for it to deny any damage. The left-hand side push is trying to come on through as well to maybe try and make something happen there, but it just hasn't come up trumps. You see the Electro Wizard's going to come on through, but so much defense here. That cage is just waiting in the wings. A good poison to try and keep even here, but so much damage going back and forth. Mushroom just cannot make it, and Will finally comes back with a round here.
Yeah, Will be backed into a corner, but our fighter from Bournemouth University, he said they've got the competitive experience. They've got, they've been in so many tournaments before. I think it's particularly in this best of 5. This is the environment they're going to thrive in. Backed into a corner against Mushroom here. They finally come out swinging, and now they've got the chance for the reverse sweep.
Yeah, this is their big shot. Will be able to take this. He has a wide variety of decks, but we've seen him settle on relatively similar ones so far, changing up a couple of cards here and there, trying to catch Mushroom out, not showing that graveyard until the end. How hard is he, and how long is he going to be playing these mind games?
Yeah, I'm fascinated to see what the decks end up being here, because for Mushroom in the last game, they got their early advantage, and then they kind of sat back in the game for quite a while, and I think that allowed Will to find their way back in as well, and allowed for that surprising knockout punch to get that extra bit of damage through. And of course, Mushroom, seemed like they were planning to roll out the rest of the game that way. We'll see what they've got for us. Again, Mushroom on match point here. They need one more win, and they're in the finals with a 1-game advantage.
Absolutely. Neither player dropping anything early. As I say that, the balloon right off the board here from Will, but Mushroom, this isn't their first rodeo. They know how to deal with it. That is going to be a bit of damage back onto that, but that's a massive disadvantage in terms of Elixir early on here. The minions not going to find anything either, as well, we obviously know that Huntress is going to take so much damage away, and well, this push is coming on through with the Mega Knight, but I don't think it's going to be able to find all too much. This Mega Minion is going to get a lot of damage here.
Yeah, massive single target damage working extremely well for Mushroom. You're right, this has gone so incredibly well in the early going. The Hunter providing great backup to deal with a lot of the units that would normally bring the Royal Giant into trouble early on.
Yeah, and I'm really interested as well to see Will invest that balloon so early. That was the source of their troubles. They put it down, the Hunter responds, you don't even find anything. You find maybe a half health on the Hunter, and then instantly, there came the Royal Giant back up, and there wasn't enough to really stop it. As you said, Cage coming through here from Mushroom to try and delay a lot of this push, and I don't think Will's going to be finding any damage anytime soon.
No, for Mushroom, perhaps they will be more proactive. Now they've got this advantage. 744, that's a very achievable amount of damage from Mushroom to get through here, as Will has been holding their cards close to the chest for a little while, not spending a lot of Elixir, perhaps anticipating a big Mushroom push.
Dude, they are, you can see, coming out here, looking to try and find a lot of that damage. A good Barb Barrel distracts again, but it's going to be this Lumberjack trying to deny a lot of that push. Is on the right. Easily taken off the board. The capitalization was there. Will knows he has to wall in here.
Yeah, this is not looking great. The balloon is coming through the left-hand side. Mushroom's left-hand tower, I think, is going to fall. The balloon is coming through as well. But look at the King Tower. That's taking a ton of damage from Will there. That's a serious contender to actually being knocked out entirely in Triple Crown.
Yeah, there's 40 seconds left on the clock, and, well, Will still has so much to make here. We know he can come back from this position, but it's going to be oh so difficult. A little bit of damage onto that King Tower, but he only needs one. Either of these towers would be good now, and there's 25 seconds left on the clock in which to get it.
The advantage for Will here is the huge health pool of the King Tower means that if the right-hand tower of Mushroom can be brought to 1450 or below, they'll still win out and get to game number 5. But right now, there's not enough threat there for Will. They can't advance quickly enough, and it's looking like we'll be going through to overtime.
Yeah, you see again that balloon coming right out here. The cage is taken down, but that's so much damage from the Hunter. Everyone keeps on disrespecting this and not playing around it effectively. It's so difficult to do, I admit, but it's just been such a problem for everyone who's been playing Balloon today. The Fireball comes on through, and with that Lumberjack, they could be making short work of this one. The raged up Barbarian is the thing that clinches it. Will taken down 3-1 after Mushroom with an aggressive early Royal Giant play.
Yeah, University of Bastion, Mushroom, very, very well done there. So that's the place in the finals secured for them, as they've done it on so many tournaments before. No surprises, I think, here, but honestly, I loved how well they were able to use the Royal Giant in the last game. We've seen a lot of players really struggle to get the Giant doing enough damage for its cost.
Yeah, and that is absolutely huge there. Mushroom, again, master of using some of these more standard meta decks, and really does get that execution down to a T. I'm genuinely impressed, and I mean, as much as the execution was impressive, them reaching those grand finals from the winner's side, well, that just seems to be par for the course at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, that's part of the whole consistency angle, that we've got a player in Mushroom who can perform in the upper bracket particularly well. They don't need a ton of warm-up to come in as a strong player, and they will perform again and again. It does mean, of course, that Will be heading down to the lower bracket with every chance of being eliminated before they get another shot at the finals themselves. But we have got plenty more Clash Royale coming up as we do head down to those lower brackets and see an elimination game after elimination game until we find our second finalist. But for now, we're going to be taking a short break where we do get set up for our first lower bracket on-stream game. Don't go anywhere, and we'll see you in a few short minutes' time. Welcome back, one and all, and it's time for breaking news once again, as the little ant that could, Mini Ant representing the University of Leicester, has given us our next Game 5 in one of these best-of-5 series. He's currently up against Breels and Wheels from the University of Southampton. We're going to jump in a little bit earlier than we'd planned to, because we want to show you which one of these two survives to go on to the next round.
Mini he may be, but he packs a punch up against BMO / Breels on Wheels here. This is sure to be a great match, and I'm really excited to see how this is going. The fact that we've gone to 2-2 is ever so exciting.
All right, so Mini Ant, they've given us an incredible performance so far, and they've been able to bring out some units which we just haven't been seeing nearly at all. So we've got the Princess, again, a fairly unusual unit. Breels on Wheels, though, they are reacting so well to what Mini Ant is bringing out in the early going.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see what Mini Ant brings out here. They've been playing low-cost decks, at least from what we've seen all a day, and, well, they show no signs of stopping here. This might be some sort of bridge spam, but can't tell quite yet. Haven't shown us everything. It could also be the many princess version, many princess list, where you're playing up to 5 princess because you've got such a low cycle cost, and also you've got those mirrors in tow.
And we know for Breels on Wheels, they're going to be relying on the Fireball to be able to deal with the princesses because they operate at such a long range. So if you can be bringing out enough of the princesses, but more princesses than there are Fireballs, then you can get a lot of work done.
Absolutely here, looking to try and deal with those groups with the goblins, and well, unfortunately, the one left standing is that knight. Those barbarians continue to push on in, but there it is. There's the flying machine, and this is big, and this could be absolutely brutal for Breels on Wheels here.
And Mini Ant, you can see with that flying machine floating across the river, being untargeted for such a long time. We've now got the recruits building up a big attack of Breels' own. It's starting to seem like they're turning the tide here.
Yeah, this is a huge chance here. A lot of damage coming through that log, obviously getting rid of those shields that are all important for the Royal recruits. There's nothing really to back up. Looks like they didn't want to commit off of it. Just wanted to bait out some of those cards. 2 still unshown for Mini Ant here. I'm going to be interested to see what they bring to try and change things.
And we've still got 2 more cards to see from them. So yes, we've been seeing plenty of the princesses so far, and plenty of these goblin barrels. Of course, the barbarian barrel, a very good, cheaper than everything encounter that deals with it straight away. See Mini Ant maybe starting to get a little bit frustrated here. Has taken more damage as a rocket comes through. Will take a big chunk out of the right tower, but there's a big push from Breels coming.
Yeah, looking to chunk it out with this knight. It does a lot of good work. The princess as well, finding a lot of damage, but targeting the wrong group here. The goblins drop on in, and they are not quick enough. That flying machine rids themselves of that princess. 1 card unshown, but they lost that tower, and Mini Ant, unfortunately, finding themselves in such a difficult position. The meta deck that Breels on Wheels brings out here is enough to put them over the top, and Mini Ant, with their innovation, can't quite find that W.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Mini Ant. They've shown us 2 amazing Game 5 performances, but sadly not going to be able to continue on here in our grand finals. Only the top 3 will receive prizing from the whole of the league. So it's a shame. Mini Ant, their strongest performance so far, taking Will to Game 5 of all people. Unfortunately, couldn't quite get it done against our University of Southampton student, Breels.
Yeah, so Breels now going on to face against Chocoholic, still in this losers bracket to get that chance in those losers finals versus Will. This is going to be a really interesting matchup here because obviously Chocoholic has often been that gatekeeper. Will Breels be able to get past them?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen, much as we've been seeing some of our lower players performing extremely well, for Chocoholic, they keep going from strength to strength. Certainly a very, very humble player who was, just hoping to show off as well as they could here today. Again, they were the play being denied the top of the podium. Of all the times for Chocoholic to maybe pull off, this is the grandest stage they could do it on.
Absolutely. And, well, at this point, the points from those previous seasons, from the previous weeks, just don't matter anymore. And this is absolutely Breels' chance to make things count. Here up against Chocoholic, they've got to prove themselves.
So this best of 5 leading on to the lower bracket finals against Will. who is waiting there, taking a well-earned break before they go back into competition. Early Earthquake from Chocoholic gets some damage down on the Archer and the tower.
Yeah, the Archer will be pushing on through. I'd be surprised to see if... Oh, trying to bait it on in. Doesn't quite hit that tower, but manages to trade 2 elixir for that 4, and not in a bad spot is Chocoholic right now.
The Chocoholic going to be bringing out the Rider, but P.E.K.K.A is there and gets the job done just before the point of impact. Does Chocoholic have an answer to this big 7 cost?
Yeah, Chocoholic has been bringing out this hog cycle so far, and it's been an interesting take on this situation. Good drag. The Knight will take 3 hits, I believe, so is going to tank up a lot of damage from that P.E.K.K.A, but they invested a lot to try and deny that. And now back to even.
Yeah, well, this is what we've seen from so many of our players. They can use these cheap units to buy time as the Rider comes in. It's going to make the impact onto the tower, get a good couple of slams in before falling down. You see Breel so angry. They're going to wave a fish around, but they're going to need to find their own damage back again, because now they're quite seriously behind.
Yeah, battering ram coming on through, but there's the bomb tower to try and deny any push right there. Will it go down in the end? Obviously, this Magic Archer does a lot of damage, but they're not going to find all too much onto the tower, all importantly for Chocoholic here.
So Breels from University of Southampton, after getting that impressive 5-game victory over Ant in the previous round, now carries forward the hopes of our players in the bottom 4 to go for an upset here against the top performing players from the league. We've been impressed by what we've seen from Breels so far. Chocoholic still ahead for now.
And there's still a P.E.K.K.A in this back pocket. It is going to easily deal with that with the Hog Rider, that's the one, and they're going to continue to look for this push onto this left-hand side. How is Chocoholic going to deal with this? They have the skeletons. Those would be massive.
Yeah, the archers as well, we noted before, very, very cheap cost. Able to distract the P.E.K.K.A long enough for the Hunter to come in and finish the job. Still advantage to our University of Exeter student Chocoholic for the time being, as they've got the charge in. They have the Electro Wizard trying to stop that charge, but I think it's still going to be another good hit in for Chocoholic.
There comes the battering ram, but there is the bomb tower again to try and counteract it. Should be able to make short work of those barbarians, but they just about managed to dodge out of the residual bomb. The Royal Ghost pushing on in here with the backup of a Magic Archer. That is potentially going to be a lot of damage, but it doesn't quite come to fruition.
You do see there that the Magical Archer gets a good 3 hits, I believe, on Chocoholic's left-hand tower, as we have got the Ghost creeping through as well. The Knight, a very good answer to the AoE damage that the Ghost brings out. For Chocoholic, these next few moments are going to be crucial. Every point of damage going to count.
Yeah, good poison there. Denies a lot of the pushing in units as well. So that's a lot of good damage. It isn't quite landing onto that Princess Tower after that first shot, but that P.E.K.K.A is easily going to make light work of those remaining units. A lot of damage coming through from the Hunter, but we need to see something come through to stop both the Bandit and this P.E.K.K.A. That's a fantastic drag, and those skeletons do an amazing job at denying what that P.E.K.K.A wants to do.
The Chocoholic down to about 850. Breel's down to 500. 1 more minute left to play as the Rider gets through. But we stopped in place. The Hunter dropping through as well. The Tornado will bring them back in. But again, the Rider gets through and makes another solid hit for Chocoholic.
If there's another Earthquake, that tower is just down. He's just trying to cycle through it right now, trying to get off that defense big enough. There it is, and with the lock, they finish it off. Chocoholic just barely picks up game 1 here.
So, Pro let us know in their performances. If you don't have a good enough answer to the Riders, you're gonna be in major, major trouble. For Breels on Wheels, every time the answers were just that little bit not good enough. They stopped the charge, they didn't stop the hit, and there was some serious inevitability about that first game.
It's really interesting, because Breels actually did have a big answer. It was obviously that P.E.K.K.A. But is a 7-cost unit an effective answer to anything? It means you have to constantly have 7 elixir up, and why would you ever want to be in that situation? And I think that was the big problem for Breels on Wheels there. It was hard for them to effectively respond.
Yeah, Chocoholic did manage to find ways around that P.E.K.K.A as well by feeding other units onto that big giant sword, as Chocoholic will be, of course, bringing things out with an early offensive push, looking to try and find out what Breels has brought out for game 2.
Yeah. Good poison damage early on. Doing a lot of damage as well to that Musketeer. The great play there with that Barb Barrel will be able to mitigate a lot of what's coming out. And Briel's already showing a lot of their hand.
Royal Giant coming out, though. This could be another return to form. The Giant did do extremely well before, backed up by the Hunter, and it is once again. Unfortunately, this time it will be separated before too much longer, and the Bomb Tower proves enough to keep the push from being successful.
Yeah, good play there. Chocoholic does manage to deal with that attacker, and, well, I'm impressed that they're one of the few players who has actually managed to thwart this Royal Giant so far today.
And I really like as well, some of the things we're seeing from Briel's here in terms of answers to what Chocoholic is putting out. The one cost skeleton, the one cost heal spirit as well. Great ways to cycle through your deck, but also answers in themselves.
Indeed, it will be. Going to be putting that Musketeer at the back to finish off that Knight, almost likely. But that's another good poison. And Chocoholic has learned from what happened against their Mushroom with effective poison placement, with effective fireball placement, really chewed them out in some of these matches they played against each other, and now trying to do that to their opponents.
Briels and Wheels committing all of their elixir through for this attack. So the Hunter is there as well, but again, the tower is taking a lot of the aggro away. There's 2 shots from the Royal Giant in, though, and that is going to put Briels into the lead.
Yeah, and Briels also has that elixir advantage, so big mistakes from Chocoholic here to put themselves behind. Cage comes down, so does the Knight. They're setting up for these pushes again, and I'll stop you, me, if you've seen this one before. Musketeer behind to deal with the Knight, response with the poison, and instantly that Dragon, instantly the Fireball.
Yeah, getting double value on that big hit across as, of course, both of these two trying to chip away the damage as the Graveyard comes onto the left-hand tower. There's a reaction there with the Cage, which will block some, though not all of the skeletons.
Yeah, it doesn't actually block very much at all. They're all going to pile in on that tower, and now, well, it's lower than the right hand. They're looking for their opportunity, but Chocoholic is too far down. They have a lot of time left to play around it. It's because Royal Giant won't find the damage to finish it off. But, well, they are behind, and they're going to have to make something happen.
So, Chocoholic seems like they're acknowledging they're going to need to diversify their damage across both towers. As we've again got the Giant coming in. We're into overtime now, so there's a lot more elixir in to play. The Royal Giant this time not getting a lot of traction in before it falls. Maybe Chocoholic can pull together the multi-pronged attack again.
There it comes. The Graveyard drops. The Hunter is going to be in position and tries to deal with a lot of these skeletons, but baited away by the baby dragon there. That poison leads to a massive advantage, and, well, they just burned through that right-hand tower. That is why you never underestimate that Graveyard. It easily just chews through even the thickest of towers.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. I think we're so used to seeing players, immediately respond to the Graveyard every time it comes out, that it's just eye-watering how quickly it can go for a tower. Those skeletons, they may not look like much, but they carry a huge, huge punch. And now Chocoholic is one game away from advancing. This is a major trouble for Briels on Wheels, who looked like they were doing so well before.
Yeah, picking up that win as well over their opponent in the previous round, over Mini-Ant, is the exact kind of thing we were hoping from them, that they'd be able to really show up here. But Chocoholic, again, that gatekeeper for the top 4, really is just stopping them from having any impact here. This is, again, a fight for the money. Third place gets £25, on that Amazon gift voucher, and they are looking to make it happen.
We do have the Goblin Giant. That is not a usual sight to see upon this battlefield. Unfortunately, didn't get anything done at all. Briels on Wheels, I think at this point, is seeing the writing on the wall here as the balloon slams into the right-hand tower. And that's going to look like it's going to be a very quick game number 3 here. That's one tower down and most of a second for Chocoholic.
Yeah, Chocoholic with a fantastic opening gambit there and just not the responses they were expecting. Briels on Wheels did not expect to see Lava Loon coming out here and just was not prepped for it. The Sparky and the Mini P.E.K.K.A. Talk about high damage density.
I mean, that's the thing. We've seen for the Barbarians, they are such great answers to so many of the big units. You could surround a P.E.K.K.A. and rely on their lack of multi-hit damage. You could surround a big unit and just kill them before they get anything. Reels on Wheels went super wild with their deck choice for this last game, and unfortunately for them, it hasn't paid off with even a single point of damage as of yet.
Yeah, this is not looking good for them. They don't seem to have anything that can actually deal with those aerial threats. They're trying to just mass units pushing on in the right. You see that the rage comes down, trying to make the aggression happen, and they find a lot of damage. But if we look at the left-hand side, we see a bit of a problem here.
Yes, this is some inevitability there. Unfortunately, we can see for Briels, their anti-air just isn't there. So they're going to have to rely on the Goblin Giant with its 2 spear throwers on its back to get the job done. The balloons coming in, but while the Dark Prince will be able to deal well with the Barbarians on the ground, the balloon in the air can more or less just do as it pleases.
Yeah, they have 2 units. They have the Electro Wizard and they have that Goblin Giant. And those are not... Well, while the Electro Wizard absolutely can, that Goblin Giant is not normally brought out for this exact situation. And it's going to be very difficult to cycle on through to just get those 2 responses. Chocoholic is just looking for this opportunity to push on in on the right. And if they drop that balloon on the right here now, this could easily just blow the game on open. The push is coming through. They're trying to deny it. We might actually go to overtime, but it won't be for very long. No, it's not at all. Reels on Wheels eliminated 3-0 here. Chocoholic with a great read and bringing out all the right answers in this very last game. As it wasn't even close. Reels could not bring that back.
And I think what we saw there was a little bit of, I think, for Briels, in that last game, I think they felt like they knew they were outmatched by Chocoholic. So just, bringing out what they wanted to play in the last game rather than perhaps the most well-rounded deck. It's a shame, because as we saw, Briels could go all the way to Game 5 of a series, but in this case, Chocoholic gets to advance. They're going to get another shot at Will in the lower bracket finals. That should be one hell of a best of 5. So, of course, guys, we'll be taking a short break before we do get to that lower bracket finals. Again, Mushroom already in the grand finals, so they have gotten every opportunity to take a break, refocus themselves, and get ready with 1 game advantage. But we will be taking a short break before we do go to the lower bracket grand finals. Of course, a short reminder, Levi's 24/7 program, one of our sponsors, able to make today's tournament happen. So please do check out their information in the panels below the stream. You can earn points for your purchases and very much more. We'll catch you guys in a few short minutes' time. We'll have Chocoholic, and we will have Will CR. Best of 5 coming up. Welcome back, one and all, and we're already so far through today's competition. We're full of fire because it's time for our lower bracket finals to find out who will move on to face Mushroom in a best of 5 action to call themselves Winter 2020 Clash Royale champion. For now, though, Chocoholic and Will, a fight we've seen before, and last time we knew it was brutal. We expect it to be the same again.
Brutal and quick. Will, ever so fantastic in many of these different situations, and well, he's coming on in here looking to take Chocoholic down again. Will Chocoholic be able to pick up a game? Will he be able to pick up this series? Well, they're really going to have to step up the plate so far, as it's been a little bit of a struggle for them to find wins against some of these top players, against those top 3 that are often sitting above them. This is their chance to take down Will and really make their chance for the championship.
This is the time, this is the place for our University of Exodus student, JJ Legend, Season 1 champion, predicting the 3-2 for Will. So they definitely think it's going to be a close thing. I think Chocoholic has been an underdog favorite for a lot of us here in the competition because they've been denied that victory that every other member of the top 3 got 2 victories so far in the competition. So it's been an even spread between them. Chocoholic with 0 so far. This is the chance. This is the place.
Yeah, it really is. Starting off with those goblins and, well, looking to make a little bit of a splash. Will trying out some of these units that they've maybe seen earlier in this competition as, well, we really are seeing some special stuff right now.
All right, well, we're here to be surprised, of course. All right, well, I mean, we've got the diversification of the giant into the giant and effectively just those 2 archers through there. Works pretty well to make sure you've got a lot of different kinds of threats on the board, but not hugely impactful so far. Let's see what we've got here. Dark Goblin. Okay, that's new.
Yeah, that's a real surprise to see here, but again, Will bringing out a lot of new things. He's just going straight for it. Absolutely massive push on in here, but that gets an activation on that King Tower. That's always important here for Chocoholic.
All right, this is looking real good for Chocoholic's chances. That balloon in with the rage took a whole heap of damage out. It's kind of been equalized from Will across both of Chocoholic's towers, so there's threat from either lane. Chocoholic will need to find answers to everything that Will is bringing out.
Yeah, and Will bringing out, again, some very interesting things. The Rascals up and on the board. The baby dragon won't be able to deal with them. Obviously, that beefy lad up front, he is looking to bully that left-hand Princess Tower.
You can see it's soaking a lot of damage, but the Lumberjack will come in and buy time. So not ideal for Chocoholic to have to burn that incredibly powerful win condition to defend, but it does keep any further damage from getting through.
The P.E.K.K.A. out again from Chocoholic here. Uses the Zap to try and finish off those goblins as the push tried to come on through. And, well, Chocoholic really looking for this left-hand side. Will the Dark Goblin do enough damage to stop this P.E.K.K.A. here as we just see a Goblin Barrel going right back on in there. But, again, the Tornado to deny a lot of that push.
So the Rascals coming to defend once again and absorbing a lot of the damage from the P.E.K.K.A. as the balloon comes in on the right-hand side. A split aggressive push. There's no direct answer. The freeze buys all the time for the balloon. It's going in. It takes the tower. Will has to fire back.
He does. He has 30 seconds to do so, but that Zap is ever so problematic in dealing with those small number of units, and that's exactly what a Goblin Barrel is. He gets the right-hand tower, however, and is continuing to put in this pressure. He only has to deal 550 damage to that left-hand side to finish things off, and that Prince will do it on his own if left unattended here.
This is a disaster for the University of Exodus student. They needed to keep that tower up. Look at that huge push coming in. P.E.K.K.A. is not equipped to deal with those kind of numbers. And Chocoholic, they started well, but they're going to end it very much in the disadvantage. Will, with no damage on the left-hand tower, gets double crowned there to take the first victory.
Pacey and racy. Will does not let up, looking for those kills onto those towers. Able to find the damage at the very end there, bringing in that fireball and really just pushing on through. I really thought that P.E.K.K.A. could have been a problem, but too many units, not enough time for that P.E.K.K.A. to deal with them. And as the baby dragon tried to clear them up, while the Prince just snuck on through alongside that Goblin Barrel and finished things off.
Yeah, I think for Chocoholic, certainly the P.E.K.K.A. didn't work for them tremendously well there, but I like that they had their approach of trying to sneak out the one tower while holding on. It didn't feel like maybe Chocoholic had the right defensive options there to go for the one tower take and then sit back for the rest of the game. So I think for Chocoholic, I'd love to see them try something similar and try and give themselves as many options to find a win as possible.
They really have. And I mean, Will as well, just bringing out different deck after different deck after different deck. What even was this? I don't know the categorization for this deck. I've learned a lot trying to cast some of this Clash Royale for you all, but I've never seen that before. I don't think I've ever seen Rascals in a deck so far, so it's always spicy to see those come on out as well. He is feeling it right now.
Yeah, the Rascals kind of best understood as knights and archers put through together. We saw that the big Rascal able to absorb a lot of damage on the way in, actually dealing with P.E.K.K.A pretty well by itself, just by having so much of that power spread across the 3 units. Let's see what Chocoholic has got for us. They'll be looking to try and tie the score up in this game.
I believe his name is Beefy Bert, so can we refer to him as such? Cage coming down to mop up a lot of this damage that might come on through and allows them to obviously have that strong front line to set up for this Fisherman. But again, a left-handed push expected from Will here. As soon as he commits something, he is happy to put that in line. But there it is. There's the Hunter, and bye-bye Baloo.
Yeah, able to buy time, but there's still a little bit of damage done from Will. Still some heavy early commits on Elixir, but there's nothing coming back from Chocoholic in terms of at least any major damage.
Yeah, gets a little bit, does actually manage to draw some blood and doesn't quite put themselves ahead as we see a cycling snowball come on through there. That Inferno Dragon, we've seen it be very scary so far today.
Yeah, I mean, unattended, it's a game-ending threat. For now, though, we know that there is at least a decent amount of play from Chocoholic here. They've got the Wizard, so able to reset the charging time on the Inferno. Has got the recruits coming in force. Have got the backup there from the Fishermans. We're going to hook each other across the river.
Yeah, it's a mutual agreement to go in on that one. And, I mean, it's interesting as well to see this Mega Knight come on down as we do see Chocoholic potentially preparing for this push. The Hunter comes down, but that's now open if they want to try and drop this balloon on in.
The Elite Barbarians doing work on Chocoholic's left-hand tower. Recently buffed and absolutely cannot be ignored. Chocoholic committed down the opposite flank and it costs them huge.
It really does. Chocoholic puts out the GG, knows that this one might be a write-off. They are looking for the clutch. They're still keeping themselves in it, but they're so far behind. They have 1,700 health to take away if they're going to even find this win.
We've seen this in so many games. This is the crucible for our players here. Each decision will be put under a microscope because each decision can change the course of the game. Mega Knight doing what it can to clear the way for a counter-offensive from Chocoholic. They've got 30 seconds to make this push on the right-hand tower stick.
Yeah, we do see it come on through. The Hunter does a lot of damage to deal with things. The Graveyard might be all important here as well. Chocoholic has taken a leaf out of Will's book. All the damage in the world coming through right now. With 10 seconds left on the clock, it's just barely not enough. They needed to put a little bit more into that push. And Chocoholic, he's still committing towards it to clear off some of these units, but the Elite Barbarians are going to tide them away. And, well, that's a tidy win for Will here as he keeps ahead of Chocoholic and is putting that pressure on.
Yeah, the Bournemouth University student Will putting out an incredibly strong performance there. They knew at that point in the game that they didn't matter how much elixir they lost. They just had to buy time. That's exactly what they did. They did what Chocoholic couldn't do in game number 1, which was getting the tower advantage and then holding that tower advantage till the end of the game.
Yeah, really great play from Will, and when he gets that advantage, he very rarely lets go. He is such a fantastic defensive player, and I think that's one of the keys of his strategy. That's why when you see him get those trades early, he often comes out on top. Even if it's a trade, if it's a big trade of damage, he's able to play towards it and then really just solidify a lot of what their opponent's throwing at them. The only person who's really, I think, been able to get one up on him in that is Mushroom, with some of those really aggressive pushes alongside those balloons.
Yeah, and I think, in terms of aggressive pushes, Chocoholic's got to be so much more careful. They are now on the edge of elimination, or rather, in this case, there will be a diversion across for a 3rd and 4th place match, because as we said, 3rd and 4th place will be competing, because the prizes go down to 3rd. So in this particular case, it is very important who ends up precisely where. as we will see a diversion from Will. They're going to be bringing out a witch of their own for this potential ticket to the finals game.
Electro Dragon. I mean, so far we haven't seen anything that points towards this Elixir Golem, but we do see Chocoholic returning to this Magic Archer deck that they have loved so much.
Certainly the Battle Healer gives us another clue that might be on the cards, but we've yet to see the Elixir Golem so far in today's competition. Now there is a big answer. P.E.K.K.A should be able to take down the Battle Healer very, very quickly before the second heal comes through.
They really will. Easily going to dispatch that one. But again, we see the Elixir Golem come on through that. P.E.K.K.A is going to make short work of it. But the Electro Wizard stopping that Inferno Dragon for just chunking it out in one go. So much pushing on in here. But that's going to be a decent sized Elixir advantage for Chocoholic if he can get rid of this Inferno Dragon.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that Chocoholic saw the Inferno Dragon coming, so Electro Wizard is such a great counter to all these charging units, as it's looking like one Barbarian gets through with the backup from the Electro Wizard and the Magical Archer. Wills conceding this one already. They're getting chunked on the left, chunked on the right. This one's not even close, and Chocoholic looks like they're back into the series.
Yeah, and we've not seen Elixir Golem so far today. And maybe this is why it just cannot find those opportunities. Well, committing a little bit here as they're looking for this opportunity to push on up. This needs to be the big play, but the P.E.K.K.A is there in response, and I struggle to see that push working now. They push on in on the left. You can see Chocoholic looking to again mount that pressure, but there it is. There is that witch, and she should be able to dispatch that. A good poison, try and keep them low, and you can see the Elixir Golem is not long for this world. They continue to push on in with that backup. So much healing coming on through, but it's not going onto the Elixir Golem here. There's the rage. They are looking to just chew through these towers. This is big. This could be the trade back.
There goes down the tower. Will playing possum for a little bit there, but comes in with a double-pronged attack. Now smashing through the left-hand tower as well. Chocoholic in a world of trouble. There's so much on the board. It doesn't matter if the Elixir Golem's going to give you back value to your opponent when they've lost their towers. Down goes the left-hand tower. Will is going to 3-0 on their way back to the finals.
Almost takes the King Tower as well, and Will, he looked ropey for a second there. Chocoholic had him cornered, was slugging out left, right, and center, but unfortunately, in the end, Will lands a devastating counter blow and knocks them out of the competition in third here. A moment of silence for Chocoholic there, because that was just unfair.
Yeah, I mean, there's still an opportunity for Chocoholic to end up coming in third, but in that third game, it felt like their best chance. I think maybe just underestimating how brutal a push Will was able to put together, given the slightest of opportunities.
It's really interesting as well to see that rage coming through. We hadn't seen it all season long. We saw Lumberjack here and there. It was relatively common to have. But the rage spell itself, nowhere to be seen. And so far today, I believe we've seen it 3 or 4 times, and every single time it's been very impressive. Will showing exactly how strong it can be there by just chewing on through that tower. What a brilliant play.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly terrifying. I think that's the thing, from what we saw there was kind of the soft counters to that big death ball, which is that you can kind of take it apart before it comes together. But once all of those pieces are brought together, there's too much stuff on your side of the battlefield, and particularly once you've lost a tower, reinforcements get there so much quicker than they would otherwise. And so it just builds and builds and builds until towards the end of that game, it didn't look remotely close.
And yeah, it just hurts so much if you're Chocoholic. You had the advantage. Everything was looking up you. And, eventually it just was that one push on through. I really didn't think that it was going to work as well, because the Elixir Golem split off from the rest of the squad and wasn't getting the heals from that Battle Healer. They weren't playing together as a team, but who needs teamwork when you've got that rage to make the dream work?
So guys, we are so excited to be able to bring you our grand finals here today. Mushroom against Will. This was the finals that they promised us for the 2020 winter season. Both of these two players against each other. Mushroom, as you can see at the top of your screen, coming through the upper bracket, gets the 1 game advantage, but it's still best of 5. Mushroom needs 2 wins. Will needs 3. 2 great friends, 2 great rivals, as we said before. This is the finals. This will determine our winter 2020 Clash Royale champion.
And Mushroom comes in with one game up, as befitting the most consistent player throughout our entire tournament, making nearly every final. This guy has been on fire. He starts off with that Barbarian Hut, well, as he began.
Yep, and that's exactly what we'd expect, but Will has got now the Battle Healer to help push their 2 Barbarians over the edge. They're going to be able to heal through all of that damage and hopefully get more Barbarians to back up a future push.
Yeah, no more committal. Will potentially expecting this push to not end quite well, but trade relatively well for themselves. They could be looking towards his left-hand side. You can see Mushroom hasn't spent anything. Both players leaking elixir until Will decides he's going to drop it down this baby dragon and look to try and counter this attempted return push.
So we've got Barbarians building up from Mushroom. I think, yeah, the elixir leaking, both players respecting the possibility that their opponent will come through. But look at that damage coming in from the graveyard and the baby dragon. That's a massive hit for Mushroom to open up the finals.
Yeah, huge stuff there. The Electro Dragon isn't so great, even though it has that Chain Lightning pushing on through these situations. Elixir Golem leads the squad. No Battle Healer to try and keep it alive here. Surprised to see that. It's a little late, but finally it arrives. It needs to get a hit in, and if it can keep things alive, that would be fantastic here. The Electro Dragon up and easy as that Elixir Golem push is coming to bear on that left-hand side.
Oh my gosh, a mini version of what we saw from Will before. Even with the smaller versions of the Golem, they're doing absolute work. Baby Dragon in there to try and provide the damage, but there we go, pulled in with a tornado and eliminated. Mushroom's in major, major trouble here. I think they've dropped the first game. Will's gonna pull even.
Yeah, and this Elixir Golem deck can just take games like that. Mushroom was not ready for it, did not expect that push to be coming in, and who needs Rage sometimes when you've got those groups? The Goon Squad coming on through and picking up the W for Will here. Well, he's got 3 other left in his name, so he's only going to need 2 more wins for this one.
Yeah, and I mean, we've seen this from so many decks. If you don't have the right answers, then you're just done. You get that big death ball going, you can't deal with it. Even that early on, we expected it to be much later when the death ball really built up the critical mass, but your Mushroom not respecting enough of the damage, but we've still got Will's air power decks to consider with as well. If you don't have answers to the death ball, and you don't also have answers to the air power as well, either one of those decks can get a knockout punch really early on.
Yeah, you really have to be careful in these early games, and I think that's true for both players. Mushroom also bringing out things like the Lumberjack and that Loon. It really does depend on what you're looking for here. They've been able to bring out a lot of different things. Bringing out his Bandit again. Mushroom has really been favoring this deck recently.
Yeah, I mean, it works extremely well. Be able to dash across those invincibility frames while dashing can really mess with a lot of units' ability to actually deal with her. As the Hunter's doing some nice work here, defending the bridge and keeping those Barbarians at bay. The barrel won't get too much done for Mushroom, but they've got to have it on their mind how quickly things went south in game 1.
They don't want to commit too hard. There comes the Ram Rider. They have made great usage of this before. Can they get it again? The Battle Healer to try and mitigate a lot of that. We'll be able to clear up a lot of it. There comes the Baby Dragon as well. Good usage to try and deny these pushes, and well, the Battle Healer even survives. The push is just coming on through. They are looking to make things happen. I expect to see a potential spell coming through here. That is big, and the Battle Healer is down. That push won't be quite so impactful.
It doesn't matter if Mushroom gets the damage through on the tower, if they're going to lose their own tower in return. This time, there wasn't quite enough there for Will to force a tower down, but they do at least equalize the damage. Here comes the push, though, from the University of Bath student. They're coming in real tough. The Fireball takes the teeth out of that offensive push, but the damage is still in there.
Yeah, and they don't have anything to tank up for this Electro Dragon. They won't invest. They're waiting things out. The push is going to come through. Maybe they find a little bit of damage, but they don't find a thing. A Mushroom is up 3 elixir now and really should be leveraging this advantage.
As we mentioned before, Will, with the competitive experience, you have to think, has the advantage with the pressure on here in the finals. The title of champion. A great way for Will to restart their competitive career. An amazing achievement for Mushroom, Will's student, to show that they have truly surpassed all expectations. P.E.K.K.A coming in with backup. It's going to be a big collision on Will's side of the river.
Yeah, the P.E.K.K.A deals with these Barbarians so well. We saw Will demonstrate that earlier on in the season, and it just finds so much value here. The Electro Dragon will eventually finish it, but At what cost? We're going to see 3 Barbarians come on through here as the push continues from Will here.
Hunter will be able to deal well with the Electro Dragon. Nice tornado to bring them back in for the Chain Lightning to hit 3 at once. But it doesn't quite get enough done, so the Fireball is required to finish the job. We have got the Rider coming in. Will be getting held up for the most part, not able to quite get through. Advantage still lies with Mushroom, though.
There comes the big push. Will they have enough to effectively deal with this? The poison won't finish off of that tower. The push is coming on through. There just aren't the cards in Mushroom's hands. They're looking to try and deny it here, but there's so much in the way. This baby dragon could find a lot of damage, but it isn't enough to match up to that battle healer. Will now on match, on season, on everything point here.
Yeah, the championship lies within their grasp, and how frustrating has it got to be with Mushroom here that they've lost the same way 2 times in a row, and they still don't even know what Will's going to be bringing out for game number 3.
He could bring out absolutely everything. We'll know once we get into the game very quickly due to what list he's bringing, but he's been playing around with what win compositions as well. Win conditions you're looking at in these compositions as well. It's why he's not been showing the graveyard towards the end of these games. I wouldn't be surprised to see something extra special and extra cheeky from Will here, but he might just go with what's working right now and run that Elixir Golem back, because right now it seems like Mushroom just doesn't have an answer for it.
Yeah, I mean, JJ, Season 1 champion, is predicting the E-Golem sweep, and I think that's very likely because Will's got the advantage here. They can keep running this until Mushroom has some kind of answer to it. You know, it's worked incredibly up until this point, so we are, theoretically, we're in game number 4 coming in now. Will 1 point away from the championship here. Mushroom, I don't know if they thought there was going to be a change of deck from Will in the last game, but now presumably they have to assume Elixir Golem is coming out again. They cannot afford to not have a direct answer to it.
Yeah, I think Mushroom really just needs to prep for that better. You don't necessarily expect to see it come out again in that second game, so I don't think they were actually preparing for it. I think they were expecting Will to try and shift up, because oftentimes Will takes that tempo and, well, takes it into another deck. Sees, hey, you're going to try and adapt to something, but I'm not going to let you get away with that. This time, the baby dragon out first here for Will, and that mega minion as well belies that this is something different. This could easily be Lava Loon with that aerial focus.
The Mushroom going low to the ground. Cheap units abound so far, so it looks like if they were anticipating the Elixir Golem, they were planning on building up a push of their own before the Elixir Golem really got going, because we got cheap units aplenty. We've got the Valkyrie, we've got the Goblin Gang, and the Goblin Barrel as well. Very aggressive from our Bath student early on. They get some good damage down.
They really do. That's a nice chunk early, and if they can make it happen, that would be fantastic. The log bait deck, Will had choice words for the deck. Said it was mostly popular, but not necessarily the best deck in the current meta. If Mushroom can pull this win out here, that would be absolutely fantastic for them.
I mean, given how far Mushroom has come through, to not get an actual win here in the finals, that would be such a disappointment for them, considering how consistent they've been. Will, of course, has been their biggest adversary the whole way through, as the Princess is chipping away. So far, Mushroom with a pretty major advantage.
They do, pushing on through here, looking to continue that aggression. Response comes on through with that Barb Barrel, and will make short work of those goblins.
We can see here the Mushroom is trying to get as much attention down early on. If they can get the right-hand tower down before overtime, they're so much better position to force Will into a desperation play instead of the coordinated assault they've been putting out so far.
I think I know what this deck is. I think Will might just be playing Graveyard here, and the fact that there is a Valkyrie on the board for Mushroom bodes so well for them. The zap of their Electro Wizard comes on through. The rocket is going to be landing, does a lot of damage to that battle healer, but they are still alive.
Yeah, the rocket, one of the spells, as you called it, there it is, the Graveyard, but the AOE from Mushroom, they are prepared to receive this push from Will, as the gang does a great job of clearing out the skeletons. Barely any damage done. Princess getting maximum value away from the main fight as another barrel comes through. It will be answered immediately by a Barbarian Barrel from Will, but the Princess is still doing work unanswered on Mushroom's side of the river.
Barbarian Barrel greater than Goblin Barrel so far, and well, it's been easy to dispatch a lot of that pressure. Brilliant stuff, but we can see this Princess finally getting aggressed onto. They found so much value from that. That Inferno Tower could be all she wrote. The Graveyard going to the back left, though. This is a massive amount of damage here.
The Valkyrie is there to answer, but there's still a ton through. It's going to be very close. Valkyrie gets the small advantage. Here comes the rocket. Is it enough? It's just enough. Mushroom will not leave these finals without a proper victory. It's 2-2. It's game 5. This is what we demanded for Winter 2020, and this is what we're going to get.
It's all to play for right now, and Will just about losing out on that one. It was oh so close, but he must be somewhat happy that his rival hasn't let him down and given him this flawless streak. Mushroom, their bite finally arrives, and they take down Will here. It's one game in it, and I don't know what decks we're going to be seeing. I really can't tell you, because all of these players are just ready with various different lists and very happy to change them based on the scenario.
I'd be a little disappointed, I think, if Will doesn't bring out something a little bit wild for this last game, because, you know, adaptability has been their watchword as much as Mushroom's consistency has been there. So I think they've got a pretty good idea of this. Will's got a pretty good idea of the situation they put Mushroom in. They force them to have answers to these comps unit. That rocket, for example, as you mentioned, a great answer. Let's see what Will's got for us if they've gone for something to try and take advantage of being in a best of 5.
Mega Minion comes out. Will, bringing some goblins of his own, will easily dispatch that one. And then, well, what are we going to see from the rest of these lists? It seems to be aerial units only so far, but Will bringing out this bridge spam deck, potentially, with this cannon cart. Well, I'm still unsure as to exactly what we're going to be able to see.
No, it's still to be revealed so far, so I'm excited to see what both these guys have got for us. So far, Will looking like they're running pretty cheap. Of course, mentioned before, the Lumberjack certainly giving us some indication that Mushroom's deck's got something worth bringing out.
Mortar coming out from Will here. This is a surprise and a half. I did not expect to see this at all. The Hunter to counteract that Royal Giant, but won't be able to find all too much damage, especially with that Barb Barrel on top of them. Both players investing that there to try and deny away a lot of these remaining pieces, but that Baby Dragon not hitting the Hunter there is pretty massive as it launches a huge amount of damage into it.
It ends up being a no-score draw, but it looked like it was a very tight thing there for Mushroom as they do get that one hit across. So by the smallest of margins, the University of Bath student is ahead. Yeah, I really like the Mortar. This is a unit we haven't seen for a long time because it can really struggle. This time it's in combination with a cannon cart, and together it seems they can accomplish marvelous things.
They absolutely can. They're looking to keep this pressure on both sides. That Mortar not doing as much as I really expected it from it here. The Barbarian does get hits on in, and even with just a single Barbarian, that's still a lot of damage very quickly with that Rage Potion.
1 minute left to play. Mushroom with no damage taken at all, but Will with only very incidental damage taken themselves. We'll have to see what they can do with the mortars here, as this time it's a much more defensive placement, so they can maybe start building together a more coherent defense. Fireball takes out immediately though. The Royal Giant gets its hits in. Mushroom's looking good.
Yeah, and we know that push, that prevention, has to come through into that cannon cart because it can be so problematic. The Graveyard doesn't find all too much. It is shut out by both of these units being invested here, but you can see Will has a lot to invest back. The Mortar goes down, going to be able to clear out a lot of this. The cannon cart to try and deny a lot of this push should be able to do a good enough job, distracting so much of that Royal Giant's damage. What a great counter to this push, but they still need to get damage of their own on the board.
The finals hangs in the balance. This single game to decide our Winter 2020 champion as we head into overtime. Still, Will has held off on revealing their final card as the Fireball will deal some damage to the Mortar and the Tower at the same time. As always, every point counts as Will's Poison testifies.
Yeah, get some damage down. The Royal Giant on the field right now. The Hunter will find a lot of damage on it, but it's taking a lot back. We can see the Lumberjack is trying to lead things in. That Rage Potion will allow them to quickly dispatch that Knight, but these Goblins are striking that Baby Dragon back on down as it finishes them on up.
Yeah, we can see here the mortar, a great answer to some of these buildings, able to hit them from very, very long range and forcing a reaction out from Mushroom, which will be taken out by the Princess Tower in turn. The fireballs of Mushroom are keeping going though. Currently Mushroom in the lead, not by a ton, but perhaps by enough.
Indeed, a minute on the clock. This overtime is getting tense. They need to find the damage if there will, but it's only 100 health lead right now, and that poison is easily going to clean that one on up. Might put them ahead. I don't think it quite does. 6 HP in it right now, and both players have some of that reach. The fireball in here, the graveyard coming through, sets them ahead. This could be all important here. The Royal Giant wants to find the damage, but it's getting delayed by that cannon cart. The Rage Potion will just about expire here, but not before it finds so much damage. 2 Royal Giants are going to need to find enough. They need to get a high 851. That's enough to put it over. There's 20 seconds left on the clock.
The double giant not quite enough to finish the game, as we have got the poison going to answer immediately, but the skeletons are getting through. Down to 10 seconds. The damage is there. Mushroom, you need to find the damage, but you can't. Will does it. They will remain the master. Mushroom falls oh so slightly short. And that means the Bournemouth University student, the tournament favourite coming in, also becomes Winter 2020 champion.
And Mushroom, after all that consistency all season long, at the final hurdle, falls to Will here. That professional experience reigns supreme and easily sets them up for the win here.
I thought once we saw those double Royal Giants come in, which I think is going to be one of the very few times in the entire competition we've seen that happen, that would be enough, but there was just too much from Will. Oh boy, I think you're right. Will's iron will built up over all of these competitions. Just enough to see them through when the pressure was the greatest.
Yeah, and the fact that that Lumberjack was killed just a couple of seconds too early meant that there wasn't enough damage coming through, and they didn't quite finish off that tower. Those Royal Giants just falling royally short. That's really unfortunate there, and Will, with an absolutely fantastic finish here. 3-1 the finals, but there is obviously an extra point awarded to Mushroom because he came through that winner's bracket, and Mushroom must have felt comfortable coming into this. A 3-0 victory for themselves in that upper bracket, and then Will just comes back like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be the most painful thing as well, to know that it's within your power to win a series like this. But I think, if anything, yeah, I think just for Will, they thrive in this kind of environment. When it's the pressure on, that's when you see the very, very best from them. And ultimately, it doesn't matter how you get there. For Will, they came through the lower bracket, as they have done before, and took the finals, take the first place, take the championship, and they seem like they've restarted their Clash Royale career in a pretty good style.
And what a brilliant story. I'm always excited to see Will win here. Listening to his knowledge of Clash Royale I was always trying to get some information out of him on what the next top decks are, what exactly he's doing in a lot of these different places, explaining concept, and his knowledge is just effervescent in that regard, constantly trying to learn more and teach others.
So I do have a comment from Season 1 champion to Season 2 champion Will, saying never seen anything like it in that last game. Just praising the crisp play out of Will. There's so much in there which we kind of need to go back and watch over again to fully appreciate. JJ in particular picking up in terms of the predictive play from Will. They knew exactly what Mushroom was going to do, and so by getting one step ahead of it, avoided a ton of the damage that Mushroom should, in all rights, have been able to put out.
Absolutely. Again, Will, with some masterful play and managing to outmaneuver Mushroom, this consistent and fantastic player. The spells reigned supreme and picked up Mushroom that one game, but unfortunately, one wasn't enough, and Will took the victory.
All right, guys, so that's all we have time for in today's stream. Thanks, of course, to Patrick and Kath for making this song happen and the production happen as well. Today's event brought to you by Amazon University Esports Twitch student and the Levi's 24/7 program, which you can join online today. Shop to earn coins and use them on vouchers or events. Link is in the panel below.
And if you'd like to connect with fellow students, please head to discord.gg/Null, and you can take on the Clash Royale role and come to talk all of us about this week's competition. And for future updates about this tournament and about everything else, go to the Twitter and follow @TheNull.
Yes, we'll be able to hear about next season as soon as the information is available. Of course, we're not quite done with the esports here at the Newell for this evening. If you're a fan of Overwatch, you'll be shortly raiding the Overwatch 2 channel, where the Overwatch Grand Finals are taking place right now. Bournemouth versus Bristol, with Bristol, who've come through the upper bracket, currently behind. So very much echoes of our tournament here today. So stick around. You don't need to do anything at all. You'll have Overwatch come up in just a second. My name is Canifit, joined by Rook. It's been our pleasure to bring you this winter 2020 Clash Royale season. We'll hopefully see you guys next season. But for now, it's time for Overwatch.